Good. So, hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's all partner training session with myself and the amazing Liz Neale. So tonight's training session is all about maximising your sales. So you're going to hear from me first. If you're a brand new partner, perfect, because it is running through the very basics of selling and all the ways you can earn money with Usborne. If you're a more experienced partner, great. Hopefully this will help you help your team members or give you some new ideas. Then you're going to hear from the person you actually want to hear from, Liz, who is, she is going to be really embarrassed by me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Liz is one of the best all-round sellers in Usborne, which is why I asked her to do this training session with me, because she knows everything about everything and will be sharing her tips and ideas with you to hopefully give you some ideas what you can do with your selling. But the biggest thing I want you to get out of this training session is that you can do absolutely anything. And I think that is the very best thing about Usborne. Use your imagination, and there is no limit to what you can do and where you can take your books. So I am going to change my view and I'm going to share my screen. So that's right at the end of my PowerPoint. Let me just scroll back up. Oh, no, I don't want to save that. Wrong button. Here we go. So, selling the real basics. Please do say hello in the chat, add your comments. I know people are really amazing in these sessions and people are always super, super helpful to everyone else with their thoughts and ideas. So please do use the chat as we go along to share your own experiences of what's worked well for you. Liz will also answer any questions at the end as well, dependent on time. So if you've got any questions as you go along, then please do again pop them in the chat and Liz will answer them at the end. So the basics of your sales. So I think it is important to remember that you earn money on every book you sell, which is why selling is great, because it is a limitless way to earn money. So you earn 24% commission on your party orders and 20% on your school orders. This one is really crucial, and lots of people don't know about this because it's hidden in the partner guide. And let's be honest, how many of you have read the partner guide cover to cover? Potentially not that many. You earn an extra 2% commission, which is your personal sales bonus, on orders over £1,200. So that would take your commission up to 26% on party orders and 22% on school orders. The amount of orders that I see that are just shy of £1,200, because people probably don't know about this, super, super worth aiming for this. You have got lots of benefits for a party order, so make sure you tick the boxes and you get all the benefits you're entitled to, such as 10% in free books, as long as your orders are over £120. So again, we see quite a few orders going through that are just under £120, like you might be talking like £103 or something, and you think if you just ordered a few more books, even if they were just for your stock, think of all the benefits you would get instead. So you'd get a half price new title, a free host book, and up to 3 half price future booking books. So do, if you're brand new, do speak to your mentor, do make sure that you are getting kind of all you can from your orders. And with a school order, you can earn up to 60% in free books for your schools, which makes you the very best school service around. And we all know how much schools are in need of what you can offer them. So don't forget about that free books advantage as well. Very, very obvious, but the more you sell, the more you will earn. And I just wanted to show you a quick comparison of the different earnings and why you shouldn't really be aiming for the 120 order. So if you place a £120 order, that would earn you £28.80 in commission. I've also got the school earnings as well as a comparison. But if you did a £250 order, you would earn £60. Now, if you think about what you would be able to buy for £60 versus what you could buy for £28.80, is a marked difference. £600 order would earn you £144, and a £1,200 order would earn you £312, because remember, your commission increases once you go over that £1,200 threshold. So I would really, really look at this. And if you are happy to do so, have a look at those amounts and think what difference they would make to your life. So I think it's always helpful to think in terms of actual things. So most of you know I've got 2 small children. One is 2, one is 5, and we all know children are expensive. And £28.80, that would pay for my daughter's ballet lessons for a month, but it would mean my son couldn't do anything. £60 would pay for his rugby tots and her ballet lessons for the month. £144 means they could do swimming as well. So it kind of adds up in your head what you're able to do. Maybe you want to save for a holiday. If you earned £312 over and above what you needed every month and you saved that every month, that's a really nice holiday for you and your family. Or if you are single and on your own, get yourself to an adults only all-inclusive and really enjoy what those earnings are getting you. So if you are happy to share, please share in the comments which of those amounts you would like to earn and what it would get for you. And I would encourage you, even if you think you're not financially driven and your main motivator is not money, do think about what would make a difference to you and what you would be able to have from selling your books. So I'm now going to share with you some real earnings from some real partners, just to show you that you can earn a great amount of money from selling books. So these are I'm trying to get faces out of the screen so people can see. Right, here we go. So these are the top partners. So these are people's sales based on non-school sales, and the top schools partners. So these are school sales. You will notice how much more the school sellers are selling, which is a kind of clear indicator to you. If you're wanting to earn more money in selling, you should definitely be looking at schools. But if you look at the amount, and I've written basic commission is because most of these people are team leaders, so they actually earned more than this on their sales because they earn additional commission with their mentor bonus. So if you just look at the amounts, and this is what they earned in a year, and again, think to yourself, what could you do with that money? And these are real people selling the same books in the same places that you can sell them. And this is what they achieved. Picking out some of the names, Maria Karaman had a baby with her for the majority of her sales. Fiona Carhill works full-time as a teacher, also recently had a baby. And they're achieving these things. So anyone can achieve anything. You could do exactly the same as these people. The reason I put personal, so PSB is a personal sales bonus on the schools one, because all of these sellers earned over £1,200 every single month, or sold over £1,200 every single month. So they all were super smart and got their personal sales bonus as well. So these are real people earning real money, and you can do exactly the same. The next point I wanted to make to you was about working smarter, not harder. So I'm now going to go through a series of what you could do for each order. So for a £120 order, you could sell 30 unicorns colouring books, or you could sell 6 and a mini, or you could sell 6 wind-ups and a mini. If you think of the effort you'd have to go to sell 30 of the unicorn colouring book versus the effort you'd have to make to sell 6 of the wind-up, it is worth really considering where are you putting your time and energy. People were really excited for the sale in January. Then I've heard a lot of people saying, actually, it was really hard to get a lot of volume in January. And that's obviously because the books were really cheap, which is great for generating. If you've got regular customers and you want to give them a great offer, that's perfect, but it's not going to earn you lots and lots of commission. So I'd really think when you're thinking about your book orders, which books you want to get familiar with, think about what you need to sell to make a certain order value, and how many of you think, actually, do you know what, I could sell 6 wind-ups. If you are some of the partners that I can see in front of me in the chat, some of them will sell double or triple that in wind-ups at one event. It's very, very possible. So if you are a wind-up seller, please do let me know your record wind-up sales in the chat to show people just how many wind-ups you can sell in one event. And also please let me know if you've ever sold 30 colouring books in one event, because I imagine it was a lot more hard work than the wind-up train book. Your next comparison, so a £250 order. The magic painting books are some of our absolute best sellers, and we know they fly out for you guys. You would have to sell 36 of them to generate a £250 order. Can we really help the planet? A really lovely gifty book is £24.99. You would only have to sell 10 of those and a mini to get your £250 order. So again, like, do familiarise yourself with the higher value items, because you can sell them and you'll soon get those order values up very quickly. £600. So I've now brought in a more expensive book, which is the Cider Sounds book. But if you wanted to place a £600 order, you'd have to sell 46 of those to get there. Loads of people use the reading collections to do look for a books. If you don't know what a look for a book is, then go to tools and downloads, look at the getting active section of the website, or just type in look for a book. And there are a couple of brilliant videos from partners explaining exactly how you do it. You would need 15 of those box sets sponsored to get your £600 order. Which is very, very possible. We know lots of people have done just that, or approach multiple schools and see if any of them want the Usborne reading collection. People have used them for school grottos, leavers gifts, for nurseries, all sorts. So again, really think about what do you have to do to make up those orders. And finally, a £1,200 order to get your personal sales bonus. Again, I chose an expensive book, my first encyclopedia. You would need to sell 71 of those. I've chosen the class sets. You would need to sell 9 class sets to get your £1,200 orders. I can see Kerry is slapping my screen. Kerry, if you would add into the comments how many class sets you've sold to schools in one go, please do so. I can't see who else is on my screen, but I know, again, lots of partners have sold more than 9 class sets to one school. So don't be afraid of approaching schools, particularly secondary schools, because they're buying the class sets and you should be the person selling them those class sets. We've price compared them. You are the cheapest way they can get these class sets. So use that to your advantage and just think what that sales commission from that £1,200 order from selling 9 class sets would do for you, because it is 100% possible that you could do that, and you could potentially do that just to one school. I've got some key fiction and non-fiction to share with you. So the other tip, I should have done this in a slicker way, actually, of just giving kind of a general overview and top tips. Liz, I'm sure, will be much slicker. So key non-fiction, these are the series that you guys sold really well. So the other thing I would say is don't worry about knowing every single book in the collection. You don't need to, your customers wouldn't expect you to, and it just almost too much choice can be quite crippling. So amazing non-fiction for you. So one of our best sellers was the Fairy Magic Wand book. It's not the cheapest book, so again, thinking about how many you would have to sell to generate a larger order, that is a really good one for you to familiarize yourself with. You'll notice there's a couple of sticker books in there. The Build Your Own are brilliant. They're full of facts, and they're really kind of great as like the alternative to the sticker dolly dressing, which again sells really well for you guys. People are sometimes put off sticker dolly dressing because they think, oh, people can get it much cheaper in Tesco's. They can, but they could probably buy one of them in Tesco's. Their child will get really into it. And then you're the one that's able to provide them with the whole range that they're absolutely prepared to pay the money for, because their child loves it and they already know that. Don't Tickle. Lots of you do really, really well with this series. Again, it's a lot more expensive than That's Not My, but I think a lot of people on this Zoom would tell you it's actually easier to sell a Don't Tickle than a That's Not My book. The 100 Things to Know series, perfect for your school events, perfect for gifts, perfect for children that are reluctant readers. And there's loads and loads in the series. Lights and Sounds, this is one of my son's #1 books. Emergency Vehicles, again, loads in the series, so you can get your customers hooked on one and then you know you can sell them more. The wind-ups, Pirate Ship, a slightly rogue one, but there's loads of different wind-ups to choose from, and they're all around the £20 mark, so you don't need to sell that many to quickly see your sales commission add up. And finally, magic painting, loads and loads to choose from, and you guys can't seem to keep them in stock, so definitely ones to go for. Fiction, people often shy away from fiction because Usborne is seen as more of a non-fiction publisher, but I would, one, say read it yourself, because Usborne fiction is absolutely amazing, and two, you will sell what you read, and if you read it, you'll love it and you'll be able to really recommend it. But I would say don't do an event without some fiction to offer people, because parents tend to want to buy their children fiction. Children are more familiar with fiction, so they're more likely to choose it. And fiction is perfect because if you've got a series, you can get the children hooked on one and then they'll want all the others. So you can see some young fiction like Billy and the Mini Monsters, Unipiggle, Anita Accidental Detective. There's the adventure game books. You've got Shadow Chaser, which is the older one. You've got Puzzle Adventures, which are the younger ones. You've got books like 21% Monster and Alex Neptune, which are kind of like adventure books with like strong male leads. You've got Jenny Pearson, who's an amazing author. So her books are really funny, but they also deal with some quite serious issues as well. You've got the Spectaculars, which if someone tells you they like Harry Potter, it's definitely what you recommend. The Shark Caller, really, really beautifully written and a great one for schools. And then you've got some YA with Holly Bourne's You Could Be So Pretty and This Book Kills, which is perfect if you are wanting to work with secondary schools or you're wanting to start your own book clubs in your communities. So loads and loads of fiction, but you don't need to know all of it. So try and settle on just a few that you can confidently sell again and again, or familiarize yourself with a few series and a few authors where you know you'd be able to recommend their books. There are also lots of sales incentives for you on offer. So we have got the 250 Club. Big shout out if you were in the 250 Club in January. Please do let us know in the comments if you were in the 250 Club in January and how you did it, if you're happy to share. So every month there will be a prize draw for a pack of merchandise, which we are very excited because we've kept it well under wraps what that merchandise pack is. So hopefully the lucky first 5 winners will be sharing that with the world so you can see what you could be winning. And that prize draw will take place in mine and Michelle's monthly message. So do have a watch of that to see if you've won. And if you're in the 250 Club, every month you could win an afternoon tea at the Randolph Hotel in Oxford. Travel, you get a point. For every £1 of books you sell, you get a point. So it is the easiest way for you to constantly increase your points total for travel. If you're really competitive, sell more books, you'll get more points, which is very exciting. So you could earn a trip to the Azores from selling your books. And the achievement awards, half of the categories are sales related. So again, loads and loads of things that you can earn from selling your books. And I think most people that have ever had any other job than Usborne will tell you, you don't get anything in any other jobs for doing your job. You guys do. So these are all the things that are up for grabs for absolutely everyone, and you definitely should go for them. And the final thing I want to say to you before I pass over to Liz is think outside the box. There are so many ways you could sell the books, work with the books, and you really, really don't need to be restricted to one thing. So these are just a variety of things that I thought of in a few minutes. So could you collaborate with your local football team to sponsor every junior member to have a copy of 50 football skills, which we all know goes down really, really well in people's World Book Day events? Could you work with your Rotary Club to fundraise some mental health packs for local schools? This was inspired by someone on my estate who organises hunts every Christmas. She's done a Christmas one, she's done a Halloween one, now she's doing an Easter one. She does has a craft business and she charges parents a certain amount. She sticks so she's like a Halloween themed one where she stuck a Halloween picture in however many houses with their permission on our estate. She did a Christmas one, same thing. Easter one, imagine she'll do an egg. You pay an amount, your child completes the hunt around the estate, and then they get a prize that she's made, like a personal craft thing she's created. You could do exactly the same thing with a book. I was more than happy to pay that, because if you think what you'd pay for other Christmas trails or other seasonal activities, you'd pay a lot more than that, and they're getting a nice book out of it, and all you've had to do is ask some people if you can stick an Easter egg in their window. Could you contact all your local schools with a discounted price for books around different themes? So work it out mathematically with a free books allowance. What can you offer them for certain things? Could you do a World Book Day fancy dress at school? So ask your local schools what they're doing for World Book Day. Even if they tell you they've already got Scholastic coming along, could you ask them to do, most schools do the fancy dress for World Book Day. They may as well do it sponsored, and then you can top up that sponsorship total with money for books for their schools. Could you do a pop-up outside your house? Could you set up a monthly book club and collaborate with local cafes they host? They get the money that people will spend on drinks, and you've got a nice venue for your book club. There's so many things that you could do with your books, and the ideas are endless. So again, if you've done something that's worked well, please do add it to the chat and share what you've done that was a bit different, that was a great way of generating your orders. So again, never feel like, I don't know where I'm going to make sales this month, or I've got no events booked. There's always something that you could do to get your books out there. And now over to Liz.
Okay. Right. Hello, everybody. I'm just trying to find my way on this. I just want to share my screen to start with. Just let me find the way on. And to work. Yes, I hope that's working for everyone. Can you all see that screen? Okay, so I'm Liz Neale. I have been with Usborne since the 12th of September 2018, and I was just saying to Lucy that the quote you can see on the screen there, get on and build your business before someone else who's not as good as you beats you to it, and that's an order. This was sent to me, this quote, by a friend who was working with Usborne, and that made me join. She sent me that and I said, go on then, sign me up and let's see what we can do. I went into Usborne purely for doing schools. That was my aim at the beginning. So at the time when I joined, I had a 1-year-old, and you can see a picture of him there reading. It happened to be an Usborne book. I wasn't doing Usborne at the time, but it was That's Not My Tractor, I think it was, at the zoo. And just some pictures there to share with you a little bit about me. So I do love working in schools. I was a teacher for 19 years before I had Jacob, and then I didn't go back after maternity leave, and then came across Usborne via a very good friend of mine who also had babies just before I had Jacob, so we kind of spent the first year together. And now life revolves around football matches, Jacob and the dog, and I set myself a goal early on that Usborne, the money from Usborne I wanted to save to use for holidays, and I reached my goal in December last year, where we went to Lapland, all paid for by my earnings from Usborne. So you can see our little picture there. That's my reminder now of my well done, and yeah, that I achieved what I wanted to achieve. So now I have new goals to look forward to, and the next year we're going to Holland, and again that's all paid for with my Usborne earnings. So as I said, I started, actually I'm going to go back. I started back in 2018 with the idea that I wanted to go and work in schools, get books into school, because having been the teacher, I knew that in my class library, the books were dreadful. But obviously I couldn't just go straight into working with schools, because at the time when I joined, you had to sell £720 before you could go into schools. So the first thing I did was set up a party with family and friends, which I joined on the 12th of September, and I'd set up 2 parties by the 13th. Hosted those parties, not at my own house, had them at my mum's house. And one of the first parties, I'd invited a friend who's a head teacher, who came in, looked through the catalogue. I could see some messages on chat before saying about selling things and not having enough stock. Well, he came in, he opened the catalogue, he went to the look inside books and said, order me every one of those off those 2 pages, which was just amazing. So that was one of my first orders. He then said to me, I want you to do really well. So come into my school and do some work in my school. Obviously, I didn't have the stock and things to go in and do a book fair. So I did a stall at his school, at his parents' evenings. That really got me into thinking, yeah, I can do this in schools. But obviously, at that point, I was looking at stalls and doing stalls and various things. So I was going booking myself onto stalls, weekends to fit in with Jacob so that my husband could look after Jacob. And I was doing Saturdays and Sundays at stalls. Built up a good customer base, doing the stalls and doing some toddler groups. And within the first few months, I think it was at the Christmas, we went into a local restaurant and one of the waitresses said, "Oh, you're the book lady, aren't you?" And I thought, yeah, I've made it. I'm known as the local book lady. So I enjoyed the stalls. I loved meeting people, built up a good customer base, which those people still come to me now to buy from. However, I realised I wasn't making that much money. I loved it. I loved getting out talking. I loved sharing the books. But really, was I making money? Not a lot of money. And the first thing I realised was looking at these stalls, how am I going to make money from these stalls? So when I had a table that was costing me £30, I needed to realise that actually on that day I've got to earn, and I've got to sell at least £120 before I'm even going to break even. And now the stalls are getting more expensive. So if you get a stall for £50, you might think, oh yeah, that's great. And I know that someone I know said, well, I've sold £50 of the book, so I'm okay. But no, because you've got to think about your commission. So if your table is costing you £50, you need to be selling over £200 before you're making anything from that table. And at the same time, I was thinking, this is not the best use of my time. However, being at the stalls, you do become part of your community. You're local in the local area, you get yourself known, people will come back to you to buy from. As Lucy said before, yes, you can get some of these books in Tesco's or the works, but they've only got 1 or 2 of the books, whereas we've got over 3,000. Get to talk to lots of people. You can talk to people about getting into their schools, into their toddler groups. Look at people with their lanyards on. That's one of the things I do when I do a stall, is I look at lanyards. And if they're a school, I'm talking about schools. I loved getting books into children's hands. As I say, they're making money, not greatly. Make friends. I've made loads of friends from doing stalls, other stall holders, and people coming to meet me. So they are a really great way to get out there. You are going to make money, but I found that I soon realised that I could sell over £1,000 worth of books in half an hour in a school compared to £180 in 6 hours at a stall. And even now when I go to stalls, my husband says to me, what are you doing that for? You could just go into a school and do this in half an hour. So to me, it's a no-brainer working with schools. And it is one of my passions of working with schools. I do still do stalls, but mostly I changed my business about 18 months ago just to look at working with schools. So this is a breakdown for you just to show you an example of stalls that I've done and how much I've earned. And I've put it down into per hour. So, and then the next screen, I've got the schools to show you the comparison. So the first stall was in November. It was a £30 stall fee. I took sales of £339.74p, which gave me a profit of £81.53. I did 5 hours at that stall, so it worked out about £16.30 an hour. However, then you've got to factor in your petrol, if you've got to pay for parking, and going down to the cafe. That's always one of my downfalls, is I start and think I'm not going to go to the cafe, and then I go and get a cup of tea. I do take my own lunch with me, so I don't have to pay out, but I do like my cup of tea. Second stall was a £30 stall fee. So it's the same place as the first stall. And I still do this one. This is the one stall I do monthly. However, even though it was December, I took £123 in the day, which gave me a profit of £29. 5 hours work, £5.94 an hour. Well, when you break it down like that, it's just not worth it. And then my final one will make you all go, ugh, because this one is a £100 stall fee for 2 days. It's for a big charity. They also ask for 10% of your takings. So I sold over that stall, £1,049 of sales. It was fantastic. That's where I sold my 32 wind-ups. I absolutely love it because it's really Christmassy and everyone's out to spend. But then when you break it down, I had a profit of £151.76, less my 10% that I gave in. It was 11 hours work, £4.34 an hour, plus the petrol. It's a half an hour drive there, and the odd cup of tea. And actually I worked out that I was paying to be there and I wasn't making any money. And that actually making me sad when I worked that out, because I do love doing that stall, but now I thought it's actually a waste of my time. In comparison, here's my schools. So school one, a book fair. It was just a one-day book fair. There was no ready, steady reading it. It's just the book fair. I took £714.11 sales. It gave me a profit of £142.82. 3 hours work, £47.60 an hour. Obviously, there's more, you would put more hours in, but that's just the hours I was working at the school. Obviously, then you've got to process the orders and things. My second school book fair was a 3-day book fair. I took £1,090 in sales, a profit of £218. 7 hours work works out at £31.60 an hour. And then my most recent one, which was just the other week, which has been an amazing one. A 3-day book fair, I took £1,059 in sales. My Ready Steady Read there took £2,500. So this school, I've just been able to email them today to tell them they've got over £4,500 worth of books they can order, but gave me a total profit of over £700 there. With 9 hours work, around £80.98 an hour. So if you're wanting to make money with Usborne, the way forward is for schools. You can do a Ready Steady Read. You don't even have to go to the school. You can do your Ready Steady Read from home, pass it all over to your schools, collect all the money, do everything from home, and you're earning from home. You're not even having to go to the school. I do supplement my schools with assemblies, so it does add a few hours on. So I go and do a launch assembly with them for the Ready Steady Read or listen, and then I always go back and do a celebration assembly where I show the book. So the picture at the top right is one of my deliveries where I've gone and done an assembly as well. Lots of people do schools in different ways though. I always offer a Ready Steady Read, and I know some people all offer a community book pledge as well, and have them. It's almost that's what you do. You don't just have a book fair, you have all of them, at least offer them to schools. But you can see there that there is a no-brainer between a stall and a school book fair. Some of you will say, I don't like going into schools, I can't get into schools, I can't get anything back from schools. How do I, but breaking through, once you've got through one and you've got the confidence there, that will help you. So I did how to get into schools, talk to everyone, whether it's your neighbour, someone you meet, anybody at all you come across, talk to them about what you do, what you can offer. Everyone has a link to schools, whether it's their children, their grandchildren, nieces, nephews. They might be part of a PTA, they could be a governor, a lunchtime assistant, they could be the teacher, TA. There's so many people have so many links to schools. Pass out those school leaflets to everybody. I don't go anywhere without my school leaflet. I use the yellow leaflet that's given by Usborne, but I've also produced my own leaflet as well, which I put in. I also put in one of the leaflets, the current leaflets of showing the books for the season. And I always take those out with me. As soon as I see someone with those lanyards, wherever I see a lanyard going, oh, you work in a school, I can help you with this. And I pass them on in my booklets. Email, I know lots of people find email really tricky, and yeah, you've got to get through that wall of the school secretaries and the business managers and the office staff. If any of you are those, I do apologise. But yeah, getting past them can be tricky because you know that they just go delete, 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 delete. So you need to make sure that your topic on your email is catching, die-catching, so they're not going to delete that. I can send out loads of emails and maybe get one back, but every one I get back is a win and is a bonus, because you know you're going to. The one I just did recently where they've gotten 4,500, that was an email. I sent an email and he just replied and said, I'm really interested. Send an email, follow up with a phone call, or even pop in. If it's a local school, pop in, take a catalogue, take a leaflet and just explain what you do. There's nothing better than face-to-face. Ask for your head teacher to pass your details around. So the head teacher I worked with originally invited me to one of their local head teacher meetings, and I went and spoke to them all and got 3 new schools from that. And then from all those schools, I always give the head teacher a few weeks of school leaflets and ask them to pass them around at head teacher meetings, also to the staff to do the same. Make sure you ask for a testimonial so that then you can include that on your emails. I include it in some letters that I send to schools, and always ask to book in again when you finish. Don't go leave the school and say, thanks very much, off you go, and contact them another time. I always ask to book in straight away. I've got one school where she gets the diary out, I take my diary with me, and we book in for the year. And that's a school where I do 3 book fairs every year. Okay, so some ideas of what things I take to school. A bit similar to Lucy's picture before. So there's a bit of a mishmash there because I tried to just put it all together. So magic paintings, I sell hundreds of magic paintings in school, hundreds of them. I've got loads of them at home. I sell from stock. I know I might be a bit strange in that one because I know there's not many people that do sell from stock, but I just prefer that the children come and buy and they can take something with them. So that's my reason I do sell. I know lots of people sell from do orders. Pop-up books have become a real popular one with me. I never used to take them to schools because I was terrified of them getting ripped, getting spoiled. But the school I was in last Monday, I sold about 25 pop-up books. They're £11.99, and I couldn't believe that people would spend £11.99 on a small pop-up book, but they do. That school, they absolutely love them there. The first encyclopedias, I sell a lot of those in school. And I always make sure I've got a cheaper book as well. So the Poppy and Sam books were the £3.50, or the £2.50 ones, the small ones. Plenty of fiction. I sell a lot of fiction at book fairs. I've got one school in particular, which I'm going to the end of the month. They only buy fiction. I find in different schools they buy different things, but this particular school, they only buy the fiction. Occasionally one or a couple of other things, but mostly fiction there. You get to know your schools, what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. Lots of activity books, the 100 things to know about. And I always make sure, as I say, there is a cheaper alternative. So the beginners books always go down really well. And depending on the school or the toddler area or the area that you're in, I always decide which books to take. So I go to some schools where I know that money may be hard to come by there. So I always make sure I've got those lower price books so that they're not put off and say, oh, well, I can't afford it, I haven't got anything. I always have an option for them. But also don't be afraid to take those higher cost books as well. Don't know how I'm doing for time, Lucy. Am I okay? Still okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Okay, so I've just put on there a couple of things as well. Don't be afraid to take those expensive books. I often sell pullbacks and wind-ups at school book fairs. Again, I used to think, oh, I'm not taking those, they're too expensive, people wouldn't buy them. But I also make sure I demonstrate them. So when I meet with the children beforehand, I demonstrate with them. I fill out the wish lists. And so the children then have that to take home to then, if they can't come back into the book fair, they can still make orders. They've also seen books, and so your younger children have got it written down so that when they go out at the end of the day, they won't have forgotten which ones. So yeah, pullbacks and wind-ups and the encyclopedias, the big book of things to know. Yeah, I do sell a lot of those at book fairs, but again, I choose which schools to take them to. Always have some cheaper alternatives available for them. The £5.99s are £3.99, so that there's people who come in and go, oh, I'm not paying that, I haven't got any money. You can say, well, there are these books here. You know, I have had people come in and complain and moan at me that you're bringing these books here and expecting us to buy them, and you know, but I always have something back to say to them. Well, there are these books here, and always make sure that you've got something to say to them, that you've got alternative books. You don't have to choose the most expensive, but they are there as an option. It's up to them if they want to spend. I've put down be aware of lucky dips, because lucky dips are really popular. If I do a school fair, so for Christmas or Easter or the summer fair, then yes, I will take lucky dips. However, I am a bit unsure of them, because I often find that people buy a lucky dip rather than a full price book. And obviously I want them to buy the full price book because I want the commission from that. Lucky dips, you might sell 15 lucky dips, but that's only £15 if you're selling for £1 each. I do sell mine now at £1.50, but it's still not a lot. You might be thinking I've sold the amount of books, but actually the volume of in terms of money isn't that much. So just be aware of those. And I've stopped taking them to my monthly stall. I don't take them anymore because I was finding people buying those rather than the full price books. Always offer Ready Steady Read or Ready Steady Listen and a community book pledge alongside a book fair. If you don't feel comfortable doing either of those, then you don't have to offer them. You offer to the school what you want to, but as a tip, I would say offer it. And make sure that before you agree to talk to a stall, work out how much you will have to sell to break even. I'm just going to have a little quick whiz through my notes to see if I have missed anything. But basically, let today be the start of something new. So go forward, plan out what you can do. If you want to earn money with Usborne, there are so many opportunities to earn money. Selling at stalls, you do earn money, but there are ways of earning more money. Selling in schools and nurseries is definitely a way. Community book pledges and obviously recruitment as well. But obviously for my side is working in schools and have something to aim towards. So for me, it's always been that trip to Lapland. I always wanted to go to Lapland. I know other organisers, partners have done that. I've seen pictures of them where they've been. I thought, oh, I really want to do that. I want to do it. And last year I said to my husband, right, this is the year we're going to go. So I booked it thinking, oh my God, but we did it. We paid for it. Yeah, and it was amazing. So now I'm on the lookout for I think it might be a cruise, the next one. But a new target of a new holiday to go to. I do my Usborne to go on holiday. So that's me, Lucy, I think.
Thank you so much, Liz. That was absolutely brilliant. There have been a lot of questions coming up, which I realised I was not organised writing as we went down, and there have been so many comments in the chat that I'm trying to keep up with them now. So firstly, could you explain what an RSR is and how you would set one up, organise one?
Okay, so an RSR is a Ready Steady Read. And there are a couple of ways in which you can do that. So it's offering a sponsored read to a school. And they can do that as a basic sponsored event where they can read a certain amount of time during a week, so 30 minutes each day, or they can read a certain number of books, or with a Ready Steady listening to a certain number of stories during that week. But I favour the book bingo. I have to say I did invent my own book bingo before Usborne did theirs. But I love the book bingo. I find schools love it because it's much more fun. So I give a card with about 16 different challenges on and let the children, so it's things like read in a tent, read to your teddy bear. And most recently I've been making it a bit more specific. So reading a book about sport. And I've even asked them to read something online so that it's keeping it of things that they do, because some children say I haven't got a book about that at home. So they get sponsored for it. All the sponsor money comes into school. All that sponsor money is then spent on books. And then obviously they get up to 60% free on top of that. So it's a really easy way to get those sales for yourselves as well, but also a great way for the schools to get free books into their school as well, and it doesn't touch their budget, which is the most important thing.
Thank you very much. The next question is, what's a lucky dip?
Okay, so the lucky dip are like this type of book from the reading libraries. Wrap them up and just have it as a lucky dip, like you'd have any other lucky dip. Have your books wrapped, and then at your event you sell them for £1, or I do £1.50 now. And then I have them in age groups so that they're getting something age appropriate as well. And yeah, they just come and choose a book, and yeah, some people don't wrap them up. I think some people just let them choose. But yeah, that's what I do have a box with them all in.
Next question is, Can you do a school with a starter kit? They don't want to look unprepared.
Do a ready, steady, read. You don't need books to go and do that. Approach them and offer to come and set up a sponsored read. You don't even have to be local for that. You can do them all over the country because you set it up for them. If you're brave, you could do a little video for them explaining it so that they can then show it within the classroom to the children. They can also send it to the parents. But you certainly don't need any books to do that at all. You can just do the sponsored event.
If you were going to say you had a meeting with a school, you've just started, all you've got your starter kit, you're going to a meeting with a school and you want to take some books. Which books from the starter kit would you take with you to show the school? It's testing your knowledge of the current starter kit, Liz, no pressure.
I don't know. When I have been to schools, I always take a C inside. I always take a magic painting because they are my absolute bestseller. And I always take 100 Things to Know About and some fiction. Definitely fiction. And definitely an array of fiction. So you've got the game books because year 5 and 6 love the game books. But yeah, just a mixture. Anything from your starter kit, take it. And the other thing is, when I'm in schools, if I'm in an infant school, I always make sure I've got baby books and also got books for older children as well. So you're not just restricting to the age group of the children in the school, because obviously you've got younger brothers and older brothers and sisters as well.
Next question is, what's a community book pledge?
So the community book pledge is where you approach businesses almost on behalf of the school. You're working alongside the school, asking them to pledge money to donate books to the school. And then obviously once you're trying to raise £600 there from those businesses, so that then you can put in that order for £600 and the school will get £600 worth of books plus the 60% on top. So it's just approaching your local businesses around near the school.
And the next question is, do you do book fairs combined with online?
Not at the moment, I don't, but I have been challenged by Anne to get up to date and start doing some virtual ones alongside mine. I think because I do them from stock, I'm a bit unsure about that yet, but that is something I'm going to. During lockdown, I did all online, and it worked really well during lockdown. But at the moment, no, not really.
The next question is your profit markup on the list price or commission? That's just your commission, isn't it? You were talking about each time.
Yeah. It's just the commission. Yeah.
Other questions are about for your reading bingo, how do the children log what they've read? Do they cross off the bingo grid?
Yeah, they just cross off. I'm just looking to see if I've got on here. Yeah, they just cross off the bingo grid or they colour it in. And I've started saying to them, do as many as you can. I used to say try and do them all, but I know not everyone can do that. So I started saying, even if you can do 2 or 3 or 6 of them, or if you do all of them, that'd be amazing. And I say you can get sponsored for doing each one. So 10p for each one or £1 for each one, or just for doing the whole thing.
Trying to frantically scroll through people's questions. You talked quite a lot about stalls as well as schools. What would you say in terms of like stall fees? What would you usually be prepared to pay for a stall? And what would you be nervous about paying?
The stall I do regularly is £30, but it's going up to £35, and I am nervous about that because £30, I think, well, £120, that's doable, but going above that at this time of year, I'm not sure. I wouldn't usually go above £30, apart from my super £100 one that I'm now thinking is not the way forward.
Although sometimes you do just have to do things for the joy of it.
Yeah. Putting back in the community.
Question saying the emails you send, if you know the name of the literacy lead, do you put an FAO in the subject? Does this get a better response?
If I know the name of the literacy lead, I do some sneaky work on looking through their
No, Liz, you're frozen. Come back, Liz. Liz is gone. So I'm
back.
Oh, she's back. Liz is
Sorry.
back. Right. I think start again, Liz, to be honest.
I forgot what the question was now.
So it was about the literacy lead. You put an FAO in the subject to get a better response.
Yeah, so if I know who the literacy lead is, I'll go onto the school website and do a little bit of digging around and see if I can find a website, an email address for staff, or I try and work it out. So if I find that the office staff have their surname and initial at the school, I'll then try and do that for the literacy lead, or I'll send it to school office. I always send it to school office, head teacher at and deputy head teacher at, in the hope that it will get to one of them, and I put an FAO for the literacy lead. But in all my emails to school, I say, please pass this to the relevant person, in the hope it gets to the right person.
The next question is, how do you get, yeah, I think a slight misunderstanding about the sponsorship for RSR and RSL. So it says, how do you get sponsors for RSR, RSL? Can you explain like how the children go about doing that? Because it's not you that's getting the sponsorship, is it?
So it's the children, so you're asking the children to go and get sponsored. They would speak to family and friends, neighbours, and ask them to sponsor the children. So the children are themselves being sponsored by people that they know.
And do you have any tips for people? I think people have like a lot of kind of, maybe people could add into the chat if they've got any reservations about schools that Liz could talk you through. I know a big one is people maybe that work full-time or have small children at home full-time, so they don't feel like they could work with a school. What would you say to them? How could they get around that?
For doing the sponsored reads, sponsored listens are a great way to get into schools. You don't have to do a book fair. You choose the aspect of the school part, whichever fits in with you. So if you can't get into a school, then focus on the Ready Steady Read, focus on the sponsored event or the community book pledge. Use a little video of yourself talking to the children, explaining what it is, explaining what you want them to do, showing them some of the books. But yeah, it's not all about going into the school and being there present with them. You can do an awful lot from home.
And why do you love doing book fairs?
Because I love seeing the children and the joy they have with the books. I love to see them excited. I like being back in a school and having the banter with the children as well and with the staff. And I also like walking away at the end of the day without any pressure or marking to do. I just love being in the school environment. Yeah.
And what would you tell you now that you didn't know when you first started?
Good question. Get straight into schools. I mean, I went into it thinking I would go into schools, but I'd do it a lot sooner than I did. Yeah, because that's where my heart is in schools.
And do you have any tips as well, if you're new and you want to get into book fairs, about how you could build up your stock? Even if you're selling from orders, obviously you'd want to take some books to show so that you'll know what they're ordering. How would you kind of get around that issue if you want to do a book fair but you don't have that many books and you want to build it up quickly, or have you done book fairs with not many books? What would your advice be?
I would go to your local charity shops. I would go to local libraries and take out as many books as you can. Talk to your friends, ask them what books they have, what Usborne books they have, and just take all of them and show all those as your example books. Also, all of your free books that you get, use all of those as your stock. And take everything that you've got, any on your bookshelves that you've had for years before you become an Usborne partner. Just gather as many Usborne books as you can from whatever sources you have available to you, friends' bookshelves.
Really great advice. And also, if you are brand new, you get 20% in free books in your first 6 weeks. So do definitely make the most of that as a quicker way of building up your stock as well. Question about, do you have tips on emails to schools? What's the best subject line to put?
At the moment I'm using World Book Day book events, or sometimes I just put book event, or sometimes I put have you a book fair booked for this year. If you put in free books, they just delete you because they just think you spam like everybody else. So it's just having something that makes them go, oh, what's that? It doesn't even have to be to say Usborne book fairs, because again, they might go, oh, well, we're Scholastic, delete. I always try to get into a school where there's Scholastic because I feel like I've championed it if I get past the Scholastic and convert them. Yeah, just choose your wording really carefully. That was one of the big pieces of advice I had from my mentor, was to make sure that your words and your subject are not ones that they're just going to delete.
Then this is a question which is, I'm a primary school teacher, but not sure where to start with letting them know what I can offer. I won't be able to do bookstores during parents' evening, for example, but maybe a sponsored read. How do you kind of approach schools by explaining what you can offer?
As I said before, I use the leaflets that we've got. I make sure I know what I can offer so that I can talk about it. But also there's lots of things on tools and downloads where there's other partners talking about the times they've had in school. So use those as well and just get your knowledge up to speed, and then just go and talk to them. Take the information, talk to them. Where you're saying you wouldn't be able to do a bookstore during parents' evening, you could, but you could use TAs to man it maybe, or a family member to man it. My mum's done one of my stalls for me. She's been and helped. I've had my husband, I was approached to do 2 stalls on one day, and I was like, oh, don't want to say no. So Richard did one and I did one, and then we just swapped over halfway through. But just use people that you trust, that you can do. But definitely the TAs could certainly run them for you. PTA, get the PTA involved because they can run them for you as well.
And yeah, I have actually met Katie's mum. I've seen at an event.
Yeah.
Katie's mum does help her. Then next question is, how long after would you send a follow-up email? Or what would you do if they didn't reply to your email?
So if they hadn't replied to my email, I'd give them, if they're local, I'd send an email and then I'd go and visit the school maybe if I'm passing by. I'd just pop in and say, I sent you an email last week. I know you've got lots of emails, so it might not have been seen. So here's the information. If I'm going to phone up, probably a week, 10 days. After that, you know that they've not read your email or they've just discarded it. So you need to do it within, I'd say within a week, 10 days.
And I would say as well, don't worry about them. Think of yourself and how you would feel about receiving things. I'm about to book on a course and this person has emailed me so many times about this course and I want to go on the course, but I needed the constant reminder emails, and actually I didn't find it annoying. I was actually grateful that he emailed again, because then I didn't have to scroll back through my emails to think like, what is this person's name? What was this course called? What was the email about? It's not that they don't want anything to do with you. You're just not top of their list.
And also don't get disheartened by no's, because you will get loads of them saying no or no response, but just keep going because you will get one. And then it will lead to another and lead to another.
We have only got 2 minutes left, so we've probably got time for about 2 more questions. So last one is, what information would you drop into the school?
I would take definitely the school's information booklet. And as I say, I've done my own information sheet that goes with it, with all my details on. It's also got a testimonial on. I would take a catalogue, possibly. If you've got enough catalogues, take a catalogue and the up-to-date leaflet of books that are available as well. And
if you didn't have your own testimonial, Liz, if you've just started, what would you do?
Talk to your mentor and ask them for one of theirs, and you can say, put in it another happy school and a quote from them, and just ask your mentor, talk to your mentor, see if they've worked in a school and got a testimonial, or they will be able to get one for you.
Someone said, do I need to place an order to get the new catalogues or leaflets?
Yeah, when you place your order, you've got that option within when you place the order, that there's the option there for you to get your catalogues, your flyers, the leaflets, the school leaflets, and also the recruitment leaflets there. So yeah, when you're placing your order, you've got the option there to order those.
You could also, if you wanted to, make like a poster or a flyer with a QR code on that links through to the online like the whole book selection online, so they can just go on there and browse as well. So if you don't have catalogues or you don't want to invest in catalogues, then you don't need to either. And if you've just started, you have a pack of leaflets as well that you can use.
And also make sure your details are on them, because I got business cards made and realised I haven't got my email address on them. So check before you order and all these things that you've got all your details on there as well, so that schools can actually get back in touch with you as well.
And finally, this is a question we've already had, but I think it's a good one to end on again, which is someone's computer crashed, which was, what was the answer to what's the best subject line to put on emails? So
I would go for book event, or have you booked your World Book Day event in yet? Or have you booked a book fair this year? That type of thing. I wouldn't put free books. Free books, they'll just delete you because they think you spam. They just think you're lying to them. There's a con. And what I would say is schools are probably not as organised as you might think they would be. My daughter's school love organising something a week before and then sending you the helpful email about it. So if there's still plenty of time, I would say, Liz, would you agree to book a World Book Day event if you've not done one already? I had an email last week asking to book me in for World Book Day, and I almost laughed back and said, I'm booked in for this book day, but I've almost already booked in for World Book Day 2025. But yeah, they're very last minute. They're like, oh, it's World Book Day in a few weeks. What are we going to do? So absolutely, yeah. Schools won't be organised for World Book Day now. And if they are, they're not normal in the nicest possible way. So a huge thank you to Liz for sharing all your thoughts, views, and also a massive thank you to you, Liz, for sharing what you earned from different events and being happy and open to share that. I think it's so helpful for people to see actual real figures of what you've done and what you've learned along the way, and hopefully you've inspired absolutely everyone to get out there and work with schools in any way possible. If you see Liz out and about, she's a local celebrity in the Merseyside area. But if you, yeah, I'm sure Liz is very approachable. So if you've got any questions and you happen to see Liz on a group or anything, then I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any burning questions you have. And I've seen a lot of people say this in the chat. Ask your mentor for help. If you are new, it is your mentor's job to help you. So do ask them. You're not annoying. You're not asking them too many questions. Just ask them as many questions as you want to, because it is their job to help you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. What an amazing turnout, everyone. And another massive thank you to Liz. And a big round of applause. Thank you, Ali, for that. For Liz. Good night, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.